Hey everyone, welcome to Grafton Custom Woodworking. After my shop tour video got released, a subscriber reached out to me and asked if I had a scroll saw. He did not see one in the shop and I told him no, it was on my list to get, but just haven't got one yet. So after talking with him for a little while, discussing, I found out that he had a DeWalt DW788 that's been sitting in storage for a little while and he kind of needed to get rid of it. So we kind of started talking, discussing some things, and worked out a good deal. During that deal, and as we were talking and stuff like that, he also said that he had a Craftsman 6 1/8 joiner, the model number 113. And so he asked if I would like that too. And, I said, yeah, definitely, I need one. And so we got it back to the shop and started looking at it, and the scroll saw is in good shape. The joiner had a little bit of things I need to work out with and stuff like that. So I'm going to focus on the joiner right now and kind of show you what we're going to do with it. If you look here, this is a joiner. I've already taken it apart a little bit and kind of started assessing it. And the top still has a lot of surface rust on it. I have spent about 20 hours already with a little scrub brush and some pads and some WD-40 trying to get it clean and just scrubbing it and getting it all cleaned up. As I was doing this, when I first got it into the shop, I turned it on just to make sure it was working, and it was making a lot of loud noises and everything. And as I took the back off here, you can see that this right here, this pulley is broke here. So I'm gonna have to go find a pulley to fit this, and the belt was kind of wore out a little bit. So that's what we're gonna work on, trying to get all this clean and smooth and flat, make sure it is true. In order to get this pulley off, there's a set screw right there that you have to loosen up, and then inside there is what they call a half moon key, and it kind of sits in there, and that's what holds it in. And then so once you unloosen that, it loosens it, then it pulls right out. So I did go ahead and flip this over and did not realize that I ran out of storage and my phone was not recording, but there was some bolts here and bolts here that go into here and here, and so I took those out, and then the shaft that goes through right here and then through here, there's a bolt here that I took out, and then on the end I unscrewed it and it all slips right out. So now I'm gonna actually take a Scotch-Brite and get all up in here and kind of clean all this up, get all this, but it looks pretty good. Inside there's not really much rust, so it all looks really good. So you can see it cleaned up really good. After I started with it, it was wiping off and cleaned up pretty good. So I just went ahead and went with a sharp rag. I put some really diluted 409 on a rag and just kind of wiped it, just kind of get some of the grease and gunk off of it. But that's actually looking really good. So once I wipe it with a damp rag, then I come back with a dry rag and wipe it all off, and then I'll put some rust prohibitor on it. I took the motor out, and I didn't show that because it's real simple. It's just basically two bolts here, and then there's a bolt here that holds the wire, and then the plug that is right here, and it just all pulls out. So I didn't show that, but you can see it cleaned up really good too. One thing that I did notice is on this one, there is a little bit of rust here, so I'm going to try to clean some of that rust out. You see, this one was the same way. I got it a little bit cleaner, so it looks better. So we're going to try to do the same thing on that one. Now that I got the motor out, I can assess it, and it works. It was really good, but it's just kind of got some gunk on it also, just like everything else. So I think just a little bit of cleaning up, and it'll be brand new. The motor is cleaning up really good. And one thing I did want to point out is right here where this brace is, it's real simple. It's got these lock washers and then a bolt. And once you take those off, this slides right out, and those bolts are just sitting in the little groove right there, so that kind of holds them in place right there. I do have to say that motor looks 100% better, or maybe not 100%, but it does look a whole lot better. It was all up in those coils and everything. There was a ton of it was just caked up in there. So got all that cleaned up. So I put all the nuts and bolts and all kinds of little hardware all in this little container, and I sprayed it with, filled it with some WD-40 and kind of shook it around and got all that WD-40 all up in there. And so kind of taking my wire brush and a Scotch-Brite and kind of cleaning them up. You can see this is what they used to look like, and as I'm cleaning them up, that's almost brand new. So they're cleaning up really good. Just take your time, get all up in the grooves, all up in the corners, everything, and trying to get all up in there. And then when you all up in the holes, everything. So more you take your time and clean all that up, the better it will be. So you can see how I got some of them already. So they're cleaning up really good. So this is the dovetail sliders on the in-feed table that raise and lower it. And so I think we take this bolt out, and then we can take those bolts in here. So I'm recording it so we can follow along. I have no clue what I'm doing. Looks pretty good, a little rusty, but overall pretty good. Now you can see in here, a little bit of rust here, and we need to take these bolts out. So one thing I did notice is this right here, it does slide out. That's the pins there that sit in right there. So need to slide this out, clean it up, but that's how it needs to go in. In order to get this cutter head out, there's some snap rings right here, and then there's some on the other side. So I actually had to go to Lowe's and get some snap ring pliers. I think this one and the other one will allow these bearings to come out and this come out. And this is the other side. So take those two out. All right, now that I got the O-ring, you can see there is a little sleeve there too. So that goes on there. And we try to get this bearing out now. I took the bolts out of the blade tension, and the blade's not coming out. It's stuck up in there. So I'm gonna have to try to figure out how to get this. But I noticed that there's bolts here too. And so maybe trying to loosen those up and take some of these out. Once I pulled the snap rings out of here, I was looking, and there's some snap rings up on inside there too, and that's going to kind of hold this. So maybe if I can get to it or figure out how to get that bearing out, then all this can come out. Once I took those two bolts out, it goes, they're pretty long, you see that? And so basically what it does is it holds this on the shaft. So now this is really super loose. So there was snap rings on the inside and outside, and I couldn't get my pliers in there. You see here's, so basically what I had to do is just take a piece of wood and a mallet and kind of hit the end of one and get it to pop out where that bearing could come out, and then I could wiggle it around and get to this other one. All right, now that that's out, I'm just going to clean all this up, get it all good and clean like I did the rest of it. Just notice that there is another snap ring in here. So there was two in here, and then two on the shaft on this side, and then over on this side there was two in the shaft. Correction, on the big end there was only one on this shaft. There was the two big ones and then one of the small ones. All right, these blades are seized in here. I've taken all the bolts out, and these will not come out, and there's junk all up in here. So I'm probably gonna have to soak this for a little while and see if I can get some of that loose and broken free. All right, I finally got them all free. So these don't look too bad. So just a little bit of cleaning up and they should be all right. The blades, they got a little bit of rust, but I am going to go ahead and take these bolts. These are the blade risers. Go ahead and take them out so I can get inside there and get all that cleaned up too. But a little bit of cleaning. I found to get into these little holes, you can't really get a hard toothpick, and you can get up in there and scratch all that out and get it all loose, and then come back with a rag and wipe it out. That's the best way I found to get in some of these little smaller cracks and stuff like that. I did go ahead and just clean this up as best as I could. A lot of this is just discoloration that's up under the metal, and but it is nice and smooth. It's a lot cleaner than it was. You can see it's nice and good and smooth. I mean, it doesn't catch up anything. All this is just discoloration. I don't think I'm gonna be able to get that out unless I just grind at it, and I don't really want to do that. I don't want to take off more metal than I have to. And so I did go ahead and order some new blades, and now it's just time to put it all back together. All right, I got the new bearings and the snap rings in, both sides. You see over here, got them all in, and I did make sure that the cutter head is going the correct direction. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find these holes here, and if you look inside when you turn, you can't really see it with the light, but as you turn it, you can find where these used to be, that indentation in it. So I'm going to look for that and put those screws back in there. Putting the infeed table risers on. I don't know if this is crucial, but I'm going to do it anyway. But I'm going to take my straight edge, pull it up here. I've tightened this bolt a little bit, and then I have this one still loose, so it kind of wiggles a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure it lines up all the way, and then I'm going to tighten this bolt here, and I'll do that for this one too. There's the stand that goes with it. The stand is in good shape. It's got a little bit of rust and some paint's coming off on it here and there, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to scrub this down really good, and then I'm going to put some metal primer spray paint on it, and then some more metal spray paint black. Here's some of the pieces that I've kind of taken apart and just kind of started cleaning them up, and so they look pretty good. This right here is a little bent a little bit, but that's not a big deal. And we'll probably paint this metal, paint it, put some primer, and paint it black also. I did go ahead and take the feet off of them, and so probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some double locking heavy duty rolling casters here. Okay, now that I got all that sprayed up and I got a really good coat of that primer on it, so now that it's all sprayed, I'm going to come back with some black paint. All right, I let that primer sit on there for about 2 days, and I'm going to use this Rust-Oleum black to spray on it. All right, it's all black. Not the best job, but it was really windy, so I was had to get a little close to it, and got a couple little runs here and there, but it's done. It looks good. I did order these Rockler 3-inch swivel dual lock brake casters, and you see the bolt fits on there perfect, right up in that hole. And then I will take a nut and put it in there to lock it down. It sounds so much better. It is finally put back together, and this fence is 90 degrees to the bed as close as possible. And I just got a little tiny cut on it. And so I did have to go ahead and bend this out. That's how that sits. It screws into there, and you tighten this down. You see we are right at 90, right on the line. Tighten this down, move this to kind of adjust this up and down. So if you look, I do have it unplugged. It's kissing right there. So we're gonna make a mark. You see, and that's just barely that little line right there. We'll plug it in and see how it cuts. And there you go. I never thought, as being a woodworker, I'd have to also learn how to be a machinist also, but sometimes, you know, you have to take care of your tools, you know, and I know this really was not a woodworking video, but this is some of the things that you have to do as a woodworker. You have to make sure you are constantly cleaning things and wiping things down and making sure things are working properly, and that's all part of the whole journey. So that's why I wanted to do. But, you know, again, I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank my subscriber for providing this and working with me so I can get this tool, because I'm going to be using this a whole lot in the shop. I really would appreciate it if you would like and subscribe and follow me on my woodworking journey. And until next time, we'll see you later.